Hi, I'm Steve Spencer from SMB Capital. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about a recent trade I made, a bullish bet on Twitter using weekly call options. And I kind of want to walk you through my thought process a little bit for the stock and then talk a little bit about the options contract that I traded. And I want to preface this by saying, by no means am I an options trading expert. I started playing with options on these weeklies in the last 6 months or so to express some of my short-term trading ideas. And I think it's important with the weekly options now that exist, especially for momentum type stocks, that short-term traders think about incorporating them into their game plan in addition to the equity positions that they're taking. So a little background on Twitter. We're looking at a 4-hour chart, and we're going back to the gap up from when they reported their last quarterly earnings, which the market liked. There was a large gap up. It pulled into a prior high where it based for a couple of weeks and then started a nice uptrend, and then eventually got back up to $53 a share. And then that brings us into our most recent few weeks or so. So after topping out at 53, it had one kind of blow-off day where it tested $48, which was the top from the day after earnings, and then it started to consolidate above $51 a share as the market was becoming weaker. And that's really what caught my attention. The market was getting weaker, and this was consolidating at the recent highs, and so I started thinking about, besides buying into the support areas, recent support areas, or any type of flush, how could I express an options trade for a breakout above that 53 resistance area, which you can see from the top blue line. And what I did was I started to look at the weekly 53 calls, and they were rather inexpensive at the beginning of the week. They were only about 30 cents. And so I bought a bunch of contracts, 30 cents. And the one thing I'll say about this is we had a unique setup in the sense that in the middle of the week on Wednesday we had a downtrend in the market, and Twitter was actually, it's still holding up pretty good, supporting in the 50 area. And you know, there was some time decay, and then they came into about 20 cents. And then eventually, after that downtrend day on Wednesday, on Thursday, when the market really got hammered, they came into, you know, the 10-cent area. Now at this point, Twitter was pulling into its 50 support, and it actually, I used that as a level to buy the stock. I was risking about 30 cents there, and you could have picked up some more of those weekly options for about 10, 12 cents or so. And the question becomes, is it worth buying those calls for the 53 strike when this thing is right at its support? Maybe at that point you say, hey, this is unlikely. But after the market started to bounce and this thing got above $51 a share, and you're thinking, hey, if this closes at the high of the day closer to 52, and tomorrow there's some upside follow-through, maybe we'll get a breakout above 53. And that was kind of the thought process there. And I can say from experience talking to guys that I've trained over the year who make these weekly plays, if you're good at timing short-term moves in momentum stocks within a few-day time frame, there's some pretty good upside there that kind of justifies being wrong a few times. Because if something, in this case, it went from 12 cents to up to a couple of bucks today, that's a pretty good, you don't have to be right that often. And so that was kind of the thought process. I was long the stock. Bought it on the pullback to 50 yesterday, then I used 52. It gapped up today to about 52.75. When it quickly spiked down, you can see that on the intraday chart, to 52.20. I bought a bunch more, and then on that breakout above the blue line here, you can see on the intraday chart above 53, I dumped my stock, and then I really had the calls, which kind of acted as my risk exposure. And when it went vertical into 54.5 or so, I just dumped everything and looked for a pullback, and when it pulled back into below 54, I started to rebuild my position again. At the end of the day, for today, if it closes above that morning high, kind of where it went vertical, more likely to get to 60 sooner rather than later. But my play for this week was a move to the mid-50s, 54, 55. And if it actually closes above 55 today, it's most likely working its way to 58 to 60 in the near term. So that was the trade, hopefully for some short-term traders. If you're not using these weekly options as part of your game, maybe you'll start to think about that some more and put on a few of these trades. Thanks a lot.